Hi and welcome back to a new video. I know I wanted to actually document my whole high school journey of my final year. Well, I didn't. And so I'm back 9 months later since my last video. And now the year is nearly over. Well, I got 8 weeks left of school and I'm so excited. And so now I'm just recapping what happened and gonna talk about uni plans. Or better, how do I decide on uni if I have so many options and so many different opportunities? So recapping, in New Zealand we do NCA, and last year in year 12 I was very successful with my grades, which allowed me this year to apply for a lot of scholarships. This year, so in June, July, I started to apply to unis, and I've applied to 4 universities in New Zealand and for many different areas of degrees, and since then I've changed a few, and since then I've had scholarship offers, and now I'm still trying to figure out where I am. Hello, Miss Mello. Okay, so let's start with my first university that I applied for. I was able to be part of Otago's Science Academy program, which was for year 13s, allowing them to have a look and explore the university and take different classes. So I decided to also apply to Otago University. There I've applied for first year health science. The current status on this is I obviously have a spot there if I wanted it, but I haven't heard anything back yet from scholarships. I also don't fully know yet what my outcome for halls would be, and therefore at the moment that's probably my last option of where I want to go to. However, it's a great program. I really enjoyed speaking to the tutors who are taking those programs and the classes. So yeah, but then I've applied to Massey University. I've applied to Massey for veterinarian science and to start pre-vet in 2026. I don't know what I would do about that, because when I was younger I always wanted to be a vet, and I've done several work experience weeks at a vet, and I've just done one last week as well to rethink the situation and so on, but I feel that is quite a demanding job mentally, and I don't know if I feel ready to approach that and take up that mental challenge, even though the study would sort of be great. So it's very difficult. However, Massey University is the only vet school in New Zealand, so if I would want to do that I have to go to that university. Also, it is in Palmerston North, which is sort of quite far away from home, and therefore I've got quite a few factors to think about if I want to go there. I did receive a school leaver scholarship from Massey, so that's about $3,000 to $4,000, and I've also got my first choice in halls, which is great. So that offer is kind of waiting there for another week, and so I'm making up my mind, hopefully. Yeah. Then let's go up north to Auckland University. So for Auckland University I've applied for first year biomedical science. So that's a Bachelor of Science majoring in biomedical science, for the entry of medicine. So to get into medicine I have to take a certain amount of 7 or 8 papers which are specialized to allow me to enter into the first year. From Auckland University I was probably best supported from the start. I received, based on my gradings, a fast track offer into the biomedical science degree for the first year, meaning that before everyone else I would in theory be able to enroll, select papers, and do that like 2 months before everyone else. So that was a very positive thing for me from the start, which like kind of made me feel like heard from that university, and for all the work that I've put into my study last year. Also, I've applied for the first year of health science because there are 2 pathways into medicine, either via health science or biomedical science. Biomedical science has a higher entry grading, so your grades have to be higher so that your average point count at the end is higher. So I think that's about 270, whereas the one for health science is maybe 180, maybe 200, something like that. So quite a bit less. I've applied for both because obviously the biomedical one is very science focused, whereas health science focuses a lot more on population health and understanding health systems. So I probably would decide on that based on how will my end of year exams go. Do I feel like I want to do biomed, or do I feel like I'm more interested in health science? I'm still deciding on it. However, I was able and very lucky to have received a top achiever scholarship from Auckland University at the value of $25,000. That's a lot of money. However, to note that your $20,000 covers your accommodation fees. So I get free accommodation for the first year, and therefore $5,000 only goes to my study for that first year, which is still great because living in Auckland for kind of nearly free for 1 year is quite a big privilege. So it made me like think, do I want to go back there or do I not want to go back there? And I've also received my halls offers. I didn't get my first choice hall, but I've asked and I will be communicating with the uni regarding that, simply because it's like I've picked the hall apartments initially and they've chucked me into the hall where those apartments belong to, but it's in the hall tower buildings. So I will see what I'll be doing there. And I'm also thinking about, do I still want to do medicine or not? It's cool, but it's very stressful and it's a high demand job and there's not much, like you can have a life around it obviously, but will I manage to have a life around it? For example, I probably won't be able to work or do many other things, and so it will have a big impact on my social life and general kind of hobbies, because your career becomes your life. So that's that. And now we come to Waikato Uni. Waikato Uni is the 4th one that I've applied to, and I've changed my degrees a lot. So let's start from the beginning. Okay, so when I came back from Otago University from that course, I was very interested in environmental science. We did toxicology, which pretty much looks at like toxic levels in waterways, and I thought that was really cool, and I honestly did very much enjoy the chemistry aspect of that. So I was certain that when I applied to Waikato Uni, because I was kind of sure that I'm not going to Otago, is that I want to for sure apply to an environmental related degree. For that, I've chosen a Bachelor of Engineering with honors in environmental engineering. When you look at the degree structure online, I think it's a very cool and fun degree pathway. The papers are all in my interest fields of mathematics, biology, chemistry, even physics, which I can keep up. That's what I actually wanted to. Like, from the papers, it's probably really cool also because it involves design papers, which gives me a little bit of a different approach to things. However, am I really an engineer? do I really want to study that? If I'm thinking about it, probably not. It is my first choice at Waikato because I've put all my scholarship applications regarding that. But I'm probably not gonna do it because I honestly partially have enough of physics and I don't know if I really want to do it. So the option is there, but I probably won't. So then we come to my second choice, which I've now deleted, but I've had a science degree. A science degree that majored in biomedical science and minored in molecular and cellular biology, and then left our electives. That was originally my plan for Waikato because that degree would be versatile enough to go into into graduate entry into medicine. It would also allow me to get into potentially Waikato's medical school and therefore would have great options. However, the more I looked into that degree, the more I kind of realized that I probably don't have to put molecular and cellular biology into it. And then I had a phase where I didn't want to do the medical side. And then I was like, what do I do now with that degree? So I changed that degree to a Bachelor of Science majoring in biomedical science, minoring in health promotion, and minoring in psychology. Because psychology is like my top subject for academics for school. And so I did that. And then I picked like my papers online, so I wrote them all down in a document, which ones I wanted to do. And then I was about to do my paper selection for my first year, and I had a look at it. And I was like, that first year paper selection is extremely boring. Those papers were great. They gave me an aspect of general science, human anatomy, health promotion, psychology, like actually what I wanted to do. But those papers, they were simply, it felt like the papers I selected for the first year as like another year of school. And I don't want another year of school. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm going to school. I want to do something that is more specified. So I decided to move away of the Bachelor of Science for that at Waikato. Then for another while I looked at because the problem with the Bachelor of Science was that I didn't enjoy the core papers of the science degree. So I was like, okay, what core papers could I enjoy? As you might know, I've got a very big interest in education and learning, so like the social science aspect. So I decided to apply to a Bachelor of Global Studies at Waikato. A Bachelor of Global Studies majoring in languages and cultures with specialization in Chinese and a second major in education and society. Cool. We're at the opposite end of the scale of science to no science. But that's what I wanted to have in there. Because for some time I was like, okay, do I want to do science? Do I want to do social science? Do I want to throw away the science? Or what do I actually want to do? So I decided to apply for that. And I chose something really different because I've had enough of just looking at science, at chemistry, at physics, at maths, and I wanted to do something more, something that would expand my perspective. The issue I had with that degree was that there's no set career pathway from that, and I'm someone who really likes having a secure career pathway. So eventually, after a lot of thinking, I was like, okay, I'm a follow through with a science-based degree for my first year, whether that's more medical science or I want to do something that goes into some sciencey aspect, and I will be contradicting that again. But so I removed that degree completely. So then I kind of was like, okay, what am I gonna do now? Or what am I applying for Waikato? So based on my science degree, I thought, okay, what's a really good mix of things that would get me into Waikato's medical school potentially, and just combine everything that potentially interests me. So I went back and I just looked at, okay, what core papers might I like? So I chose before health promotion because I really wanted to be in that aspect and be able to learn a bit more about culture in the health related system. And so I decided to look at a Bachelor of Health, majoring in biomedical science and minoring in psychology and supply chain management. Okay, we know I wanted to do biomedical science for the first year, so I left that in as my major. I really enjoyed the health papers of the Bachelor of Health, so the core papers. And I always liked psychology because it's fun, it's easy for me relatively, and why not? Why not get that recognized on my university course? And then supply chain management, because I once did a practical experiencing in a hospital and I really enjoyed actually working in a hospital like environment. And I was like, okay, I could see myself manage, like look at, for example, transportation and A to B planning of medication, pharmacology related stuff, or even maybe further down the line at how the transport of transplant organs are. Very different, but interesting and something that needs to be cared for. So I'm like, that degree is cool. It's still sitting there, and I can choose it if I want to. So I've got that degree and I think it's really interesting. However, what I have to consider is that I haven't got a direct career path from that. I have to kind of work myself into the job, which is fair enough. I think it would be fun, but do I want to do that or do I want to take a different opportunity? Finally, what I've applied for at Waikato again goes back into the direction of business. I have thought about business originally once, but it makes me still like wonder if I want to do it because I feel like bad about throwing away my sciences. However, naturally I'm very good at organizing things and coordinating people in a way, and therefore I decided to put up a Bachelor of Business. Why I initially didn't do that is because I don't just want to be another business student. The standard is for people to study business. A lot of people study business because business runs the world. There's nothing bad about studying business. But, yeah. So my reason for why I've decided that I want to apply for Bachelor of Business is because when I went to my vet experience week last week, I was able to work with farm vets for the first time. My family background is farming. I've never farmed. I've never been interested in farming. However, I am very interested in the animal welfare aspect regarding farming. And so once I went out with the vets to look at farms, that concern or that will to do something and do something different has kind of sparked up. I enjoyed being with people who treat the animals well, especially couples in farming. They were very friendly and they did well. However, some people don't take that aspect that high and do not know or respect their animals or do not know how to treat them. And so it was quite interesting for me to see how some people, especially vets, even have to ignore that in a way, because getting yourself in a situation of conflict with people makes it difficult for them to respect your other advice. And therefore, I was like, that also was an aspect which made me think about vet, because I'm like, oh well, I wanted to be a vet to help animals. But if I can't speak up as a vet about the issues that I'm seeing, then why do I want to be a vet? Let's do it the other way around. Let's come and try and build yourself into big companies and businesses, and then be able to eventually go back and come up with welfare problems and solutions. So I was like, okay, dairy industry in New Zealand, Fonterra is the biggest company regarding that. And so I'm like, okay, what could I study that allows me to work at Fonterra and allows me to eventually tackle animal welfare problems and potentially make a difference by coming up with new solutions. So I went back to work at a uni and looked, and I was like, okay, a Bachelor of Business majoring in agribusiness and majoring in supply chain management. At Waikato Open Day, I really enjoyed supply chain management, but it is just a form of management, but it is a very big one which is needed. And so I looked at Fonterra websites, and I was like, okay, there's heaps of stuff on supply chain management, which would give me a lot of job security probably, and internship possibility once I'm like in my last year of uni. And together with agribusiness, it would allow me to have some base knowledge on that. So that's what I've come up with, and a vet suggested for me to potentially look into MPI, which is Ministry for Primary Industries in New Zealand. And they've got a lot of senior positions in the animal welfare part and executions, which is really interesting, or other areas. But that is all based on senior management. And therefore, I think that this degree would allow me to eventually, 15 years down the line, take something up in that area potentially. So yeah, that's my aspect for why I've chosen that. That degree would be only a start to be able to work in management, but I would pick up a degree of animal welfare and something after that to continue. There's no end to any of those degrees. And for Waikato University, I've been able to get a $5,000 scholarship, school leaver scholarship, which I'm very lucky for. So now I'm sitting here, talked for like nearly 30 minutes about everything that I've chosen to do, and I still don't know what I want to do, because I've got such a big field of interest and passion and things that I want to explore and contribute to. So to summarize it, my last choice is Otago University. This is just because the location is not what I wanted for the university. It has nothing to do with the people who are there, the teachers, lecturers, because I really enjoyed those at Otago. They were really good. However, it's too far away from home. I don't want that at the moment, so I'm saying no to that. So that leaves me. Also, I haven't heard from any scholarships for Otago or what my goals are, so I don't really fully know that. So I'll be basing it on the other 3 universities, because I kind of have to make my mind up in the next 1 to 2 weeks. Massey is a very difficult one, also quite far away from home, and I didn't receive any scholarships for accommodation, which means that currently, based on those 3 universities, that one would be the most expensive one to attend. Pre-vet is for 6 months, and then based on that it would decide if I continue there or if I would change it. Then coming to Waikato and Auckland, they are financially with my scholarships the same. I am in Waikato, which means I wouldn't have the living costs because I would live with my parents. And if I would go to Auckland, I've got a scholarship paying for my living costs, which would make it easier. Auckland is not far away, which allows me to have easy travel. It wouldn't impact my social life with the people that I have so far. However, the degree choices would, because if I decide to go to Auckland, I should go in with the attitude that I'm happy and prepared to go into medicine. Because, or maybe something else, maybe pharmacology, maybe something else, but I should go in with the attitude of wanting to study at Auckland and wanting to be there. And I think the big city life would be cool, but I don't know if I can, or if I want to commit to that fully. But then do I want to throw the opportunity away? So it's very complicated. And if I'm here, I'm like, cool. That's my life. That's what my life has been for the last 2 years. I can have a great social life, do my hobbies, meet with the people that I enjoy meeting, and I've got my best social life. But the degrees might just be a little bit less, not satisfying, because they are very satisfying, but it's just different to a university like Auckland. The level is a little different, and my approach to study will be different. So yeah, I think that it's going to be very hard to make a call what I want to do. But based on what I've done now, I think that to make a decision, I have to really just weigh up what I want to do. What would be the best approach for next year? What do I actually want? Do I want my social life to be ideal, or do I want to be focusing on my academics and career and seeing what is more important? Yeah. If you take something from this video, it's like understanding. Even if you think you know what you want to do, things might change. Things might pop up which suddenly interest you. And it's important to not shy away from that interest. And instead of saying, oh, I don't want to apply to that because what does it do to my life? It doesn't cost anything to apply, and you can always cancel it or reapply, and so do that. And then if you're standing in front of such a big choice at the end of the year, I can't fully help you with that. But it's just eventually figuring out a feeling. And I guess if I can't figure it out at all, I have to do what my boyfriend does or what his family does and flip a coin. Or roll the dice if you have too many options. But yeah. I got like a week or two to decide. And I don't know what my path will be. I'm split in decision. But I'm sure it's gonna work out the way it should. And that's why I'm making this video, because I want to document that I've had all of these great opportunities. And it's important to recognize that opportunity and having those options is better than not having any options. And so, based on that, I'm gonna move forward now. And I'm gonna try to do my exams. And then I'll be back once I decide on uni. And yeah, by saying that, it's like, appreciate your opportunities. It'll work out. It can be very overwhelming, but it'll work out. I'll see you next time, and good luck for exams if you're sitting them. All the best.